everyone. Welcome to another episode of Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. I'm your host, Donna Lisa, and today I have a very special guest, the reigning 2021 Mrs. Nevada America. Welcome, Sarah Banda, to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. And I do appreciate you taking time out on your weekend because I know you're a busy mom and a busy, working lady. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we managed to juggle everything between mom, wife, lawyer, Mrs. Nevada. It keeps us very, very busy, but it's been a lot of fun.
Good. So let's just go. I'm going to go into a quick little short bio about your background, and then I would love you to, let everybody out there know what it is you do, how you got into the beauty pageant world, and, how it was balancing life as a busy attorney and Mrs. Nevada America. So for the viewers out there and the listeners, Sarah Banda is actually the reigning Mrs. Nevada America for 2021. She had a very busy year. She's also an attorney at Naqvi Injury Law firm, and she's also a busy mom. She is a Bishop Gorman alumni and UNLV graduate. So let's talk a little bit about at what point in your life when you're this busy working mom, did you decide, I just want to go into the beauty pageant world and, see how things go for me as Mrs. Nevada America?
Sure. That's a great question. Actually, I had never thought about being in pageants, doing any pageantry. I was always an athlete growing up between Muay Thai, soccer, whatever it was, and very busy with work, being a lawyer. But I got a call from someone who was going to be competing for 2021 who said, "Hey, I'm going to do this. Do you want to do it with me?" I was like, sure, why not? I'm always up for something new, something different, a challenge. And so I met with the director. I signed up. It was completely unexpected. I told my husband. He was like, "You're going to do what?" And it all went very quickly from there. That was in April of last year, and the pageant was in August. So I had about 4 months of very, very quick preparation to learn what it meant to be in a pageant. And I didn't expect to win. I'll tell you that. I gave it everything that I had, and I hoped for the best. So it was fun, and it was exciting, and it was actually a little bit of a surprise the way that it all played out.
So most women prep more than 4 months for a pageant. So it's congratulations, by the way, on doing it with less than 6 months and actually winning. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of prep crammed into that. I'm generally good under pressure, and I'm fortunate to have a great support system between my husband and my family and my parents, who allowed me to have the time to be able to do the prep that I needed. I hired a pageant coach. I worked with one of our local dressmakers to make outfits for state. And then, lots of walking practice, lots of interview prep. Fortunately, I'm used to answering questions from what I do for a living and asking questions, but there was a lot of preparation that was crammed into a very short time period.
That's awesome. And I mean, it must have been very, very different coming from the athletic world, that you grew up in, and then having to, walk in heels, which of course, I'm sure you probably wear heels to work every day, but, walking on like doing the catwalk and stuff as opposed to running on a soccer field.
Yes. The 6-inch platforms were definitely positioned. I do wear, on a normal day, probably 4-inch heels to work. So I was used to walking in heels in general, but those 6-inch platform sandals are a whole different animal. So there was lots of, walking around the house, making breakfast in the platform, break them in and get used to and being able to walk on the stage. So it was different from anything I've ever done, but you know what, it's been a great experience for me so far.
That's awesome. And so you went in just to support a friend, which is nice, and not thinking you were going to win. And so here you are, you're being crowned Mrs. Nevada America. What thoughts were going through your mind? I mean, of course, it was probably just a lot to take in because you have a whole year ahead of you with community involvement and, a lot of press, focused on you. What were your thoughts at that time?
Yeah, you know what? I was really excited when it happened. I had worked really hard for it, but there was a time period from, originally signing up and not knowing what I was doing and just kind of doing it for fun. There was a moment in those 4 months when I realized, okay, this is more than just fun. It's something that I actually do want to win. And so one of those moments came doing some community service and preparation, where I just realized it was more than just something I was doing. I really did want to win it. And so when it happened, I was pretty excited, and so was my family.
That's the athlete in you, the competitiveness, I'm sure.
I don't like winning, but this was a pretty big accomplishment. And I don't think I even knew until it happened how big it was. I don't think it ever really registered until I had the crown and was planning out things that I needed to do, ways I could help the community, that I really realized what an impact the title have on my community.
So what's it like? Walk us through your whole year, 2021, as Miss Nevada America.
So I'll be honest, I took a day or two to sort of process. The pageant hangover, I think is what they call it, is a real thing. So it took a little bit of time to adjust, but then it was just hit the ground running. We started setting up fundraisers for various things, volunteer activities, charity activities. And so it's been a busy year. I coached for Girls on the Run. And so that was twice a week, an hour and a half. We did, it's a youth development program. We went ahead and we taught the girls life skills about self-confidence, how to stand up to peer pressure, but they also incorporate running and athletics to get them to the year 5K. And that happened a couple of months ago. That was pretty awesome, actually, that 5K. So that was something I was involved in weekly. And then I've done a lot of work with our local childhood cancer organizations, which I love that. That's another aspect. Those two are probably my favorite organizations of anything I've worked with so far. But also working with food distribution through Just One Project. We've done a lot so far in the past, 6 months or so since the crowning.
I was just going to ask if you had a favorite organization that you liked working with. So thanks for mentioning that. I bet it must have been a huge life change for your husband to kind of adjust, like a lot of adjustments for him to be kind of in the spotlight with you.
Yes, he actually likes the spotlight, so that part's good. It is an adjustment though, because we're already so busy even before this with work. He works full time. He's very busy. He manages restaurants in town. Right. We've got a son that we're taking back and forth to school and activities. And so, trying to work in a way that we could still balance family with the title. It's challenging. Always worthwhile, and we make it work, but it can be challenging sometimes.
It's a balancing act for sure.
It is.
Awesome. Well, so now how involved will you be? I mean, with your reign, ending in 2021, there's new 2022 Mrs. Nevada America. Will you still be heavily involved with the organization?
I plan to be. So it's a close-knit community. All the prior queens, we get together for different events and everybody hangs out for social stuff, but also for fundraisers. They kind of unite and still do things for the community as a group. So I plan to still be involved in that portion of it. I would love to help out the future title holders in any way that I can. I know me coming in, not having ever done this before, I had a million questions. I had no idea what I was doing. Any guidance I could get from anybody who had experience, I truly appreciated. And I hope, being a person that wasn't born into or didn't grow up in the pageant world, I can help to do that for the next queens too. Maybe make their lives a little bit easier, give them some direction, help them know, even down to contact information for various organizations and charities, just help them in any way that I can. And then I still plan to be involved with a lot of the charities that I'm working with now, like Girls on the Run and some of the local childhood cancer organizations.
Nice. So it's interesting. I'm still in shock that this is your first pageant ever. And, in less than 6 months' time, you're over here training for 4 months and you win. What kind of advice do you have for somebody just thinking out of the blue, hey, you know what, maybe I can try it out? I know there's a lot of preparation involved, but for you, having done it in 4 months' time, what would you recommend for someone who's interested?
Sure. I think getting a pageant coach is important. Hired a lady named Tracy Rogers, who's not only my pageant coach, she's actually a really good friend of mine now, because you go through so much together getting ready. I think that part's important. Making sure that you're ready for interview. For me, it was sort of the opposite. I had to spend more time walking and posing and things like that. But interview is such a big part of pageant, just making sure on that. Plus, I think a big part of it is making sure you don't get lost in trying to be what you think pageant means to be. That you really are you. I think they appreciate that when they can tell that you're actually being true to yourself and the things that you're doing, saying, the community service you're involved in, making sure that you still shine through and you're not trying to be something that you think it should be.
Right. Just kind of focusing on being your authentic self. That's a good point. So when you're prepping for all of this and you're just your day-to-day activities, I always like to ask my guests this: is there like a daily affirmation or some quote that you kind of like to start your day off with?
I don't. I don't have a quote or a daily affirmation. I know a lot of people do that. But I just try and remember, life's very stressful. A lot happens. We've got really good days. We've got really bad days. I just try and remember that every day is new. And even if yesterday was difficult, today is going to be better. So it just in general, I try and remember that. But as far as a specific affirmation, no.
Yeah, and I'm sure in your line of work, you have rough days, of course. And so every day is just like a fresh new start for you.
Yes.
That's a good way to look at it. So what future plans do you have as, the reigning Mrs. Nevada America for yourself?
Okay, yeah. So we've got various things coming up. I'm trying to we're putting together a women's martial arts introduction.
Oh.
We've done those throughout the course. Even before I was running for Mrs. Nevada, I worked with one of our local gyms called One Kicks Gym, and we put together a women's intro to the Muay Thai class, just to get women active, to get them to feel confident, to let them learn some skills as far as self-defense and martial arts. And once I started running for Mrs. Nevada, we tweaked it a little bit and started donating a portion of the entry fee, the participation class, to a charity. So our next class is March 5th. I'm putting together a tea party picnic for some of our local childhood cancer warriors. It's going to happen in a couple of weeks. Got some Just One projects up that I'm going to be helping with food donations to the community. Oh, what else? Some events with the American Heart Association. There's a lot. We've jam-packed a lot into the remainder of the last 4.5 months or so of my reign.
Wow. So even though you were busy during your reign, it sounds like you're going to be even busier.
Just as busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a year to do everything that I possibly can to help my community, to help the pageant system. So I'm trying to take full advantage of it. I don't want it to go to waste. I want to walk out at the end of it knowing I did as much as I could to help with this title and to help our community while I had the title.
That's awesome. I'm just guessing, everyone who gets involved with these, pageants, they give back so much to the community. Is that something that's really important to you?
It is. And what I found is that pre-pageant prep, I did a lot of things, but I realized in getting ready for the pageant that while I did a lot, I didn't do enough for others. And that's just the reality of it. Pageantry requires so much self-reflection.
Yeah.
More that I could do for the community. There's more that I could do for other people. And this has allowed me to do that, with the platform. And it is something that I want to continue doing forward, even after I pass on the crown.
That's great. I love seeing people continue on to still get involved, even after their reign, because it's important. And you kind of still are in the spotlight. Like, people remember who you are, and they're going to keep looking, to see what you plan on doing in the future. So that's great. It's nice to hear that. What exactly What exactly do as your family actually do to assist with what you need? I mean, I'm sure it gets exhausting for your husband to tag along and, your kids, or are they very supportive, or there's sometimes where they're just like, you go ahead and we'll sit back? Because I know what it's like to tag along a family to do all sorts of activities that don't always necessarily involve them, and it's just you.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's a mixed bag, definitely. The majority of the time, everybody's happy to be involved. But every once in a while, it can be a lot. It's a lot of activities. It's a lot of events. So there are moments where we have to take a step back and it's just me that goes. But the vast majority of the time, we try and do as much as we can together. And I like finding organizations in town. My son is 7, but I can take him with. So he'll go, I mentioned Just One Project a couple of times. He'll go with me to that food distribution and help me distribute food to the community. So I try and find activities that we can do as a family, just to make sure that we're still having time together as well.
That's awesome. Just because I know how straining it can be on a family when they're supporting somebody and their goals and dreams. And it's nice that your husband and your son support you. So that's great to hear. Well, I do appreciate you taking time out on the weekend. You've answered like all the questions exactly as how I hoped you did, but even more. I got a lot more information about you. Didn't realize that you were an athlete, and just going into this beauty pageant world. Is I have a daughter who plays soccer, and that's just not her realm. She would never think about being a beauty pageant, contestant. So I love that, you kind of switch gears and got into it. So nice to see you doing so well. I look forward to seeing more involvement with you with the, Las Vegas community, and maybe even more than that. So I wish you all the best in, the next future years. And hopefully, is there another future pageant that you plan on competing in?
I don't know. We'll see how that goes. It's tough because I won the one that I was competing for. So I don't know where I would go from here.
Like I know they have like international pageants, things like that. Is that something that you ever think about doing?
I do. It has crossed my mind and I'm open to it. Things like that are so much a family decision. I mean, we've invested so much time and effort into this title that it would be something I'd have to talk to my husband about to see if our families, if and when our family would be ready for that. But
totally get it.
Open to that. And one of the last things I wanted to say was that, we are getting ready for 2022, which is going to be June 12th. And I think there's a common misconception that happens, one that I had before April of 2021, that there's a certain type of person that needs to be in a pageant, and that's it. And so I'm hoping with what I've done so far and what I'm going to do in the next couple of months, that I make people realize that there's no right type of person for pageantry. If you've got a good heart, you're willing to work hard, you want to give back to your community, you're the right type of person to be competing in a pageant. And I hope more and more women realize that, because I think there's a lot of potential phenomenal title holders out there that just don't know it yet. And so bringing this and making it more obvious, more open, making people aware of what pageantry is and what you can do with the title. I'm hoping we can bring more women who are strong and independent and hardworking into the pageant systems.
That's a great piece of advice too for people who may not be, in the beauty pageant world. Because I grew up thinking that was just something that they've been groomed for since day one. You watch these shows, and I knew some friends that, were models and, like child beauty pageant winners, and thought, okay, if you haven't been doing it for 10 years, you obviously are never going to get to like a Mrs. Teen or Miss Teen or Mrs. America type thing. But that's a great point. I appreciate you sharing that. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, where can they find you? Either on social media, or do you have an email address where they can email you directly?
Yes, absolutely. So they can reach me on social media. It's Mrs. Nevada America, the Instagram, or my personal one is at Sarah Banda. Or my email address is mrsnevadaamerica2021@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you again taking time out, during a busy week and on the weekend. I know you have family things to do, so I won't keep you any longer, but so nice to chat and catch up on, you and what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully I will see you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.